Welcome back to The Explainer. So today, we're diving into what is honestly one of the most jarring, unexpected pieces of media we've ever pulled apart on this show. The title is massive, right? Evolution of the World, 2025 to 13.8 billion BC. You hear that, and you're prepping for this grand, sweeping, Carl Sagan-level documentary about the cosmos. But what we actually get? It's this deeply unsettling, incredibly claustrophobic narrative hidden inside a really bizarre structural choice. Because the second you look at the raw text, you are just hit with a literal wall of the word heat. It just repeats hundreds and hundreds of times. It completely dominates the piece like this heavy atmospheric pressure. It creates this intense, almost feverish environment before you can even process that, hey, wait a minute, there are actually other words buried in here. It's like a static frequency just blasting, trying to drown out the real message. And to put that into perspective, if you look at the sheer data, the repetition of that one single word completely swallows up the scattered narrative fragments. But if we manage to filter out all that background noise, a really distinct three-part story actually emerges. It's the cycle of a deeply toxic, highly controlling relationship, and it all kicks off with a very specific, very manipulative tactic. Which brings us to phase one, the illusion of safety. So piercing right through that wall of heat, the narrative voice draws the subject in and, well, draws us in too. It lays out this incredibly deceptive promise of romantic commitment. It establishes this baseline of trust, right? Let me be the one to hold your forever. Honestly, it sounds incredibly sweet. The speaker is framing themselves as this permanent, rock-solid fixture in the subject's life. But that's exactly the hook. And they take it even further. The text paints this picture of a savior figure, someone offering to heal wounds, relieve stress, just make the subject feel entirely safe. They promise, we be good together, I'll make you feel special, and perhaps the most telling one, fix the most in your heart. It's this intoxicating promise of emotional safety. But knowing how these dynamics work, we can clearly see this is exactly where the trap is set. Phase 2. Disgust and absolute control. Because that safety, it vanishes instantly. There's this jarring, incredibly sudden pivot away from all those nurturing promises straight into intense emotional toxicity. The whiplash is crazy. 1 second it's a desire to comfort, and it immediately flips into a demand for degradation. We go straight from I'll make you feel special to tell me you're disgusted. The narrator forces this twisted dynamic where supposed love is all tangled up with self-loathing. You literally have the subject being forced to say, tell me that you love me, really you mean nothing. It is totally disorienting. Then, out of nowhere, the narrator just shuts down all communication. I don't want to talk. It is classic stonewalling. After reeling the subject in by promising to, fix their heart, the narrator just abruptly cuts off the emotional oxygen in the room. And things escalate fast. It shifts from just refusing to talk into a really harsh, authoritarian command. It's not a discussion. That whole illusion of partnership from phase 1, completely shattered. The narrator is entirely dictating the terms of reality now, leading to a complete loss of autonomy, marking the absolute climax of this controlling phase. You control my life. What's super interesting here is how the source blurs the lines. Like, is the abuser mocking the victim, or is the victim's own inner voice finally breaking through the narrative? Either way, it brilliantly highlights this massive, absolute power imbalance. Then we're hit with this bizarre, really raw imagery tied to profound feelings of being unclean. All night, I was scratching the bird. You make me feel dirty. It's feverish, completely mirroring that relentless heat surrounding the text. The romantic forever they promised earlier has devolved into something physical, frantic, and just deeply uncomfortable. Moving right into phase 3, lingering fear and desperation. So this intense breakdown leads straight into the aftermath, where all that control suddenly gives way to raw panic. We get this desperate sudden shift to an apology, baby, I'm sorry, which, as we know, is a textbook marker in the cycle of abuse. After the explosion of emotional violence, there's this frantic scramble to backtrack, right? Trying to pull the victim back into the cycle before they even realize what just hit them. You see this desperate clinging and this intense fear of abandonment popping up immediately. All I want to do now is with you. Please don't desert me. And then that incredibly twisted little phrasing, please don't deserve me. The narrator is simultaneously begging this person to stay while seemingly acknowledging their own inescapable toxicity. It's truly fascinating. Now, taking a step back to look at the big picture, the dissonance here is just wild. Think about the creator's epic, world-building title versus the grounded, terrifyingly human reality of these lyrics. We're promised this grand cosmic evolution spanning billions of years, but the text is actually hyper-focused on the microscopic, totally destructive evolution of a single toxic relationship. And as the piece finally comes to a close, buried under one last wave of the word heat, we are left to grapple with this raw, totally unresolved question pulled right from the source. Are you going to hurt me? It just hangs over everything we've uncovered. Is the apology genuine, or is the whole cycle just winding up to start all over again? It's a pretty powerful reminder of just how complex and dark human narratives can be, hiding right in plain sight. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope this helped unpack the layers of this incredible text, and I'll catch you on the next one.